Well, continuing with bad news for Snyderverse, more or less. I mean, look, hey, it's not going to hurt to try, so, I'll keep hashtagging Restore the Snyderverse, but it doesn't look good. Despite what I readily admit, what I see as a successful outing for the Snyder Cut, but it had an unfair burden put up on it to, leap Mount Everest in a single bound. So, one of the elements that should have been obvious is, of course, cost. And there's only so much money to go around. I understand, and they more or less seem to be doing this, where they Warner Brothers was embracing the concept of the multiverse, which DC Comics was, the pioneer in this idea. Way back in the late 50s with the Flash of Two Worlds, where they introduced the concept. And for decades, they had multiple versions of their star characters until they foolishly got rid of it. And then little by little had to bring it back. But Marvel joined in this as well, but not nearly to the extent that DC did. And now it's all the rage, because Marvel, the MCU, is clearly going to do something along those lines. Thought we were getting an inkling of that in WandaVision, but that seemed to be a bait and switch. But anyway, probably get a whole bunch of that in the Flash movie, should it ever get filmed. Apparently it's going to happen, so there you go. But anyway, here we have this article in Bounding into Comics, talking about an article from Small Screen. That's the way it works. The headline of Snyderverse over as Walter Hamada, who's in charge of DC Films, seeks to keep costs down. Hands DC Films over to Bad Robot. Now think about Walter Hamada. I think he got his position to take over all of this stuff after he was successful with horror films for Warner Brothers, and he was in charge overlooking James Wan's creation of the Conjuring, which is even as of now, the only other successful shared universe. Not nearly in the amount of money that Marvel made, but it was a profitable franchise, and it was a shared universe of horror movies, spinning out of the Conjuring. And so when he was brought in, I thought, well, that's probably smart. He kind of understands how to manage something like this. But it's been a while, and they can't seem to get things together. There's been Aquaman, which I think we consider to be under his eye. At least he inherited it, and it was successful. That was their billion-dollar movie. Since then, would have thought Wonder Woman 84 was going to be a hit, but oh my God, that was terrible. Preceded by the god-awful Birds of Prey movie, which is just terrible. And so, well, not looking so great. I guess we'll see if Suicide Squad can, but man, looking at that, it's not like it was a bad trailer. It was just, I didn't see anything there. The jokes weren't funny. I was rather taken aback because I've seen James Gunn do good work, although I wasn't a big fan of Guardians of the Galaxy, but I thought Suicide Squad would be an even better fit for him, but the trailer didn't wow me at all. So I don't know, but boy, did they need a hit, And they don't like Snyder Cut, so even though it performed well for them, they're going to pass on it. But this is keeping in with the idea that a follow-up to Snyder Cut would be very expensive, and they apparently don't have the cash. So, new intel, which rumors from people claiming to know, DC Films president Walter Hamada has one job Warner Media expects him to accomplish: produce projects on the cheap to keep costs down. You know what would be cheap? You could do on the cheap? A Batman movie with the Batman people like, but Ben Affleck might have wanted to do an expensive version of it. But there's ways of doing a Batman movie or series that shouldn't cost too much. A Superman film's a different matter. But they're going forward with that. So anyway, so Small Screen gave the site a full scoop that details Warner's goals, Hamada's task, and how J.J. Abrams, oh God, and his firm Bad Robot fits into their plan. Long story short, Hamada is allegedly counting on Bad Robot to do most of the heavy lifting. That's that's a mistake, but you've already shelled out $500 million for it. After such brilliant success with Star Trek and Star Wars, yeah? Was it? So anyway, the source said, what I could tell you is that last I heard, Walter wanted to hand over almost all the DC stuff to Bad Robot. Yeah, all right. So far, Abrams is concerned with rebooting Superman and bringing Justice League Dark to HBO Max. However, slowly but surely, the two interests and their fields, cinema and streaming TV, will merge into something reflecting Marvel's current approach to the MCU. Yeah, they keep mystifying the shared universe. It was already a shared universe. Yeah, that's what Snyder did. So when they say they want to get away, that doesn't refer to it suddenly being a shared universe. It already was. They're just referring to his rather serious take and dark tone stories, as opposed to the more lighthearted and silliness of Marvel. And they tried to slap that on with the Justice League. And then tried some more of it. I mean, actually, the Aquaman movie, it almost derails it. You know, it takes you out of the movie with the stupid sitcom jokes they have in there. There's that scene where Aquaman and Mera are walking in the desert, and it's literally sitcom music playing in the background. Bloom, 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 bloom. I was it's terrible. But fortunately, it was very, very, very quick, and you could get back into the action. But anyway, yeah, they think that's great, and that was successful. But Birds of Prey wasn't. Wonder Woman 84 wasn't. Yeah, 2 strikes, you know. So somehow Abrams is going to come in and do something. And all Abrams, well, already, what do we got? We got a bunch of race swaps and some gender swaps, perhaps. Certainly race swaps. Going to race swap John Constantine for Justice League Dark. So I don't know, will it even be recognizable? They go along about, oh man, there's all these other IPs that are lesser known characters, but you can, that's another problem. And I mean, Justice League Dark would not be cheap. I mean, if it's just going to be a CW take on it where they all sit around and talk about their feelings for an hour, that's not going to go over well. But they're talking about these different characters, Zatanna Black. Yeah, Steven Spielberg, I think at one point wanted to do a Black Hawk movie. I don't know if that's still in the works. But that would be a whole separate thing. The Spectre, that'd be an expensive character to do right. The Question, yeah, you could do a cheap Question show. Because he's basically just a guy in a mask. The original Rorschach. But they wouldn't let him be like that. And the Question would be gender swapped, because the comics did introduce a female Question. So there you go. Mr. Miracle, I don't know where that's going to be after what the New Gods has been scrapped. Which, again, do New Gods right. Oh, boy, that's going to take some money. So, yeah, I don't know if you can expect any of that. But Zatanna and the Spectre, Justice League Dark, yeah, they'll fit in with that. But then again, money. And, they had the Swamp Thing a while back. Basically, the reason they scrapped it is it cost too much, even back then. So, So, the further revealed, according to allegedly coming straight from Abrams' camp, the LGBT, you forgot the IQIA+. You got to do it right or you get canceled. Oh, man. Anyway, they're all excited about Midnighter. Yeah, that's right. There was a gay Batman originally from Wildstorm, but then DC bought it. And that was years ago. Yeah, they don't really need you to come up with it. Anyway, so they were all excited about it. And so a Midnighter story, I guess Apollo wouldn't be there. Apollo is the gay Superman boyfriend for him. But again, he's superpowered, and that's expensive. But Midnighter, well, he's just a guy in a black trench coat. So you could probably do a cheap, crime thing with Midnighter. Just try not to have him kill American soldiers, which he did in one of the comics. Yeah. Anyway, they went on to say Justice League Dark is the big one Hamada and Abrams are worried about. With the rumored Black Superman project close behind it. Yeah, that'll roll the money in. There is where the MCU model of one leading into another comes in. Yeah, the Ellis Superman movie would have linked into that series, and then they would have made other stuff linked to that series too. Okay, so they're going to have a multiverse plot with Justice League Dark. Okay, but that's you could do that with just about anything concerning DC. So the real takeaway is, how do you do it cheaply? Well, a multiverse story. I mean, of course, CW already did this, and gee, it's awful because they don't have the money for it. And this is sounding pretty bad. So why don't you just do a Batman series and try to make some money? And if you make some money, you can spend it on projects that might make more. It's a gamble, of course, but you could do that. So, yeah, they just want to keep the costs down. Yeah, I understand. So that's one of the big things, too. That's a drawback on the Snyderverse continuing. Despite the rather positive reception that it got, it's an expensive movie to try to follow that with less money. It's going to have a hard time looking good. So that's an argument in their court, the anti-Snyder Cut people, or Snyderverse people rather, within Warner Brothers, to bring that to AT&T. That's why Snyder Cut needed to really overwhelm it. They couldn't just do well. It had to leap Mount Everest in a single bound. I know I've said it a million times, but it's true. And it's rather unfortunate. That being said, as much as I would have liked to see that version of it continue to some good resolution, I do not want to see the Batman banging Lois Lane storyline. But here was a chance to rewrite that. And but of course, I don't know if that would make it take the costs down. But it's already been revealed, so you would want to rewrite stuff. But the rest of it, taking on Darkseid and all that would have been cool. But expensive, very expensive. So that's another thing to say. It's unlikely. They got to make some money. And I just don't see a bright a future for it. And I would understand that and accept it. It's just they're going to leave it in the hands of Bad Robot. And already, what are they going to do? They're worried about characters. Who are they screwing? What's their skin color? All that. Is there really any ideas? Are they really invested into the Justice League Dark and all those stories and all the supernatural characters of the DC universe? No. It's just shield it with identity politics and call everybody a racist, misogynist, whatever. Down the line, if you don't like it, as if that's going to work. Boy, it worked wonders for Ghostbusters, and no, it never works. You can't shame people into the seats. You can't shame them into subscriptions, and so it's just that's what it's always turned out to be. There's all icing and no cake, and even the icing is increasingly bland, and so it does not look good, but. Yeah, and Bad Robot's a huge behind-the-scenes player. They do that way better than they do movies, and they know how to play that game. So that's another big obstacle course for any Snyderverse continuing. Which I hate to say it, but I think it is done, and that's unfortunate because they don't have anything better to replace it. At least. Maybe they'll surprise. Suddenly, Bad Robot will get its mojo back if it ever really had it, and produce this amazing idea and stories that'll just be, oh man, this is cool. Yeah, but that's where it is. Thanks for watching and listening. Say, while you're still here, why not like and subscribe and share with your many friends? Yes. Also, check out my mini stores in the link description below. Yes, where you can get t-shirts, hats, mugs, all those goodies with my artwork on them. Oh, yeah. And head over to indieplanet.com and pick up a copy of my comic book, Night Night. Oh, yeah. You can also catch me at my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, on RadioMisfits.com. And you can also watch my videos on BitChute.com and now on Rumble.com. Oh, my goodness. So many places to watch me and my stuff. Oh, yeah. And if that's not enough for you, well, you can follow me on many social media platforms and say hi to your old pal, Mr. Nailsin.